How's it going, folks? I'm Marcus.
And I'm Rami.
And this is the podcast where we try and figure out what this podcast is about.
And what we're doing with our lives.
And this week, we're going to be talking about Peloton Tread, the Great Migration, and Dyson Wearables. Hope you enjoy the episode.
Cheers.
Now, here's some tech stuff we could talk about.
Oh,
Here, I'm going to give you a. What do they call it when it's
Choose
like
your own adventure?
Choose your own adventure. Here we go.
Yeah. We literally just
what
went
was that
through
show
Choose
called
Your Own
about?
Adventure.
What's it called?
Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch. Here's the Bandersnatch of topics for tonight.
How much of the Ron Bauer have you had? I can't. Oh, it's done. That's
I
a
mean,
bottle.
it's like there's like an inch.
Oh,
in
that's
there.
done.
No,
Have you been to the winery?
No,
It's lovely.
I haven't done all that. That was an open bottle when I came. I'm just being a big man.
Okay.
No, I've had a taste of wine. It's been nice.
Perched, it's up on a hill. It's right across from where we had the engagement house up there. You're literally like it's up St. Helena, just north of it, the engagement house. You look across one of the knobs, and Ron Bauer is right there on the knob.
Ah,
Yeah, it's lovely.
yeah. We should do that sometime.
It's great.
You should bring me up there.
Okay.
Given it's my favorite wine.
It's
Just
your
saying.
birthday soon,
Turning
so
41 next week. Just saying. Okay, Bandersnatch. Peloton Tread. Apple Silicon. The Great Migration. Dyson Wearables. Which of those sounds interesting to you?
I want to start with the last one. But before that, it did sound like you were giving me multiple choice of like a Jeopardy game where I would go...
Where you'd say, what is Dyson Wearables?
What is Dyson
Yeah.
Wearables? Dyson Wearables, as per MKDB, HDDBDD, it's definitely an April Fool's joke.
Dyson Wearables announced today, not an April Fool's joke. They have brought out noise-cancelling headphones. Not for listening to music, just noise cancelling to take out ambient noise, along with because they make fans, right? Their thing is all, they make vacuum cleaners and more recently fans, a air purifying mask, which is a Iron Man-esque plastic mask that fits over your face and filters out. It provides 97% fresh air to your lungs, is what they quote.
It's an
Don't
April
know
Fool's
what that
joke.
means.
It's an April Fool's joke. There's no way.
No. It's not April Fool's yet.
It's April Fool's in 2 days.
Yeah, you don't. That's not how it works. You don't
Isn't
get to
it?
there's no there's not a
Window.
No, April
April's
Fool's
window.
is a
There's
day.
a fooling
They've
window.
really launched this thing. They're estimating it'll cost about $1,000.
That's
premium
not possible. I saw this thing. It's ridiculous.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's
no one's
plastic
buying that.
and it's got like a little face eye guard, plastic jaw, and noise protection, noise cancelling headphones.
It's like you're wearing headphones for your ears
Yeah.
over your head, and then you're wearing headphones over your mouth, effectively. And you've got two bands, one over your head, one over your mouth. There's no way that's a product. That is an April Fool's joke. That's not possible. I literally did a double take and thought, you got me. I almost think that's a real product. That's
I
a
nearly
concept
clicked
from
on that link.
university. No way.
You think it's not real at all? Are you serious?
No
You think
way.
it's not real?
I really think there's no way.
You think it's just for like hype and like marketing?
That is a university industrial design project gone wrong. There's no way that's a real thing.
When I saw it, I was like, great one, kind of 2 years too late. We could have done with this a little bit back when people were... But it doesn't... It filters pollens and, it's not even... It's a fan on your face with a small little HEPA filter on it. Like,
Give me the use case. Who's walking around with headphones? And it's not even optional. It's combined. So you can't even have just the fan, right? The whole thing is one unit. Who's walking around needing to be in dead silence outside to avoid pollen?
It does make me remember being on BART before COVID, though. I wanted that. I feel like I was more likely to buy that pre-COVID when I was on BART and I wanted no one to talk to me and I was in someone's armpit,
Yeah, I hear you for the duration of the 10 minutes or 15, however long you're actually
45 minutes, yeah.
But you're
Under
taking
the
that off
bay.
and carrying around this awkward mask headset.
I think you're picturing it's not like 20 kilos. You don't put it on. You're like
20.
really uncomfortable. Fuck, this is heavy.
It's like from the 1950s, the thing that kind of rejigs your jaw and your bone structure. It's what you get after surgery.
It's like the Hannibal Lecter mask. Yeah, no, it's not
what's
that.
The use case? It's literally that public transport's the use case. Who's got noise cancelling and purifying?
I think it's just for BART. I don't even think it's for I think it's like they called it Dyson BART. I think that's the product
the marketing
name.
department went, it's a bit niche. Can we just diversify?
Well, if we charge $1,000 each, okay, great, that'll be fine. Yeah, great. We only need to sell,
to
the population of San Francisco.
Can't be a real product.
I think it might be. Next question. Peloton tread. So, are you up to speed on Peloton tread drama?
I mean, I feel like the drama was a little while ago, right? People got hurt. They had to do a recall, not well designed, bit awkward. Yes. I feel like failing on a treadmill, a design that's been pretty stabilized for many generations, is a pretty big fail. I
think when, let's not reinvent the wheel or reinvent the bicycle. I feel like when they did that, they kind of, they won already with the bicycle, so they were like, let's reinvent the treadmill. But
they didn't reinvent the bike. They just slapped a screen on the bike, in fairness. So the bike is still the same mechanic, right? It's the same, like everything else is out there. Whereas the treadmill, they've gone, what we're going to do is we're going to raise it, we're going to give it a different thing, and we're going to create potential hazard that's net new. I'm like, why did you not?
I don't know if that's true. So there's two things. So they brought out like a Tread Pro or something. Like their premium product was like $4,500. You needed 240 volts to power it. So like in your regular house or apartment, you need to get an electrician in to do some fancy wiring to be able to power it. I guess if you're paying $4,500 for it, you can get someone in to do that. But their main problem was they had some recalls, but more importantly, some serious injuries. There was a child killed. They got sucked under it, like nasty stuff. But they had already announced their lower tier tread and said, even when that had happened, they said, we're bringing the tread out. And everyone went, yay. And then all these bad things happened. They went, oh. So they've delayed it. They've had some quality issues. They released it and they didn't get safety certification because there was still problems. Anyway, they've announced today or yesterday that they're bringing out the tread, and it's going to be like $2,000, and it runs 115 volt or 110 volts. It'll run in your house. Much smaller. It's just a treadmill with a screen.
Safer.
Thoughts?
Safer.
Is this the so? I suppose we want to. I guess there's assumed context. Just in case everyone's not up to speed, Peloton rocketed during COVID. I mean, how much? Like 5x in valuation.
Close.
Crazy money. It went up. I think more. Like anyway, crazy amounts. Massive investments in R&D. Massive investments in production. I think they spent something like $500 million on production facilities in the US to be able to create the amount of bicycles that they predicted people would need based on how many people ordered them from March of 2020 to like July of 2020. They're like, if this line is linear, which we're assuming it is for the next 10 years, classic torpedo, then we're going to need 15 billion bicycles. So they went into mass production mode.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, we're going to look. Every house is going to have 2 or 3 of them. This is what we're seeing from the line. Look at it.
Clear.
Dot it. Dot. And then COVID ended, and people went out to kind of open their doors and were like, actually, you know what? My bike's a bit crap compared to going for a walk. Or actually, I might go for a cycle. Yeah. Including mine, which I haven't used for a year now. Like I was ahead of the curve on that. Early adopter, we keep coming back to this. I've been an early adopter and not using my Peloton since I bought it. And it's not even in my garage. It's outside. It's got a rain cover on it outside. I don't even know if it works anymore.
That's right. You were pitching me on putting mine outside.
And I was all in on it. When I got the Peloton, I was like, this is life-changing. Get the Peloton. It's going to be amazing. Did 70 rides on it and then put it outside.
Put it outside to pasture.
Anyway, that's the context here, is that since then, share price dropped 80%. Founder CEO left.
Gone.
New CEO took a haircut on it, said, oh yeah, we made the wrong decisions, and has just released the tread.
Also stopped production, everything.
Yeah, laid off 2,800 people. People are like, employees are not happy. They were on a rocket ship that suddenly crashed down, things like that.
Proper cataclysmic thing. I'll tell you one thing before I get into my discuss. You can tell the vibe changed from Jess King's MO in the lessons.
Oh, I miss her. What's she doing now?
Is
she not being inspirational?
Just nowhere near as inspirational as she's not at her best. She's not living her life. Yeah, they broke Jess. You can tell the instructor's not as motivated. You can tell there's something because they're just not there. Yeah.
When was the last time you took a ride? Be honest. Last time ride? Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
I can check on the app, I can actually check right now and see if you did a ride yesterday.
Check right now.
I'll take you at face value here. No. I will put up in the edit if it's true or not. How about that?
It's not yesterday, it's the day before, but it's like
here we go.
Yesterday was a run. The day before was a Peloton. And I genuinely thought to myself, she's phoning it in. She's phoning it in. She's just not there. She's not there. She's doing.
They were making savage money. She probably still is. Those instructors were making celebrity money.
They became superstars. Total celeb. I mean, Cody went on Dancing with the Stars. Like
that's
he's
right. That's
celeb.
right.
Like all around. He was doing his stuff from the studio in LA. Like he's a celeb. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Right. Tread. I can see it. I'm not sure it's going to do the same thing as the bike. The bike thing has a very different way of creating like energy and motion and the class of the bike. You don't have the same concept of like a treadmill class. The only one that's close is Barry's Bootcamp. So you look for analogies, right? Peloton basically took spin, SoulCycle, and flipped it. No one had established the model of a running SoulCycle. The closest you've got is Barry's, and Barry's is not that. Barry's is like get off and do this thing, come back. So if they... Yeah, and the cycle, the running part is not very novel. Do you
think maybe a rowing machine might have been the next bet instead of a runner?
Well, there's a really strong like Apple of rowing machines that's there, right? The water one that's beautiful, and I would have imagined
connected. That water one's not connected.
I would have imagined they should have bought them up and connected it. They should have done that story. I feel like the rowing machines, the footprint is too hard. Like they should have either mirrored or...
No. You can flip it down from the wall. The rower's nice. The rower's easy.
You can flip it, but when it's down, it's still got to be out.
You just need it to be down to exercise and put it back up again. Like
yeah, but you need the space to exercise. It's like tonal. So tonal is the one I'm actually looking at going. Maybe that would have been because I'm really into. I had to go at the idea of the dynamic auto adjusting trend. That is brilliant.
So what's tonal?
Tonal is a smart connected wall mounted gym effectively that has magnetic based friction for programmable weights. So it's effectively cables that you can move up. It's almost a traditional cable that's mounted to the wall on this system.
It's a giant screen with adjustable weights based on with
cable weights that are all magnetic based. That'll sense your muscle, and they'll have all the sorts of. So you can essentially do whatever you need to do. You can do your barbells, you can do your dumbbells, you can do it lying down, you can do it standing up. The kind of standard gym set, but the fact that it'll sense your pressure. And it can adjust depending on where you are in the cycle. So if you want to do hyperbolics and you want to kind of, push to the top of the cycle, the bottom, it was really, really novel. And trying it out, you can really see where you don't have to think at all about what weight I should be doing to get whatever outcome I'm after. I'm selling it not having actually used it or bought it.
Yeah, no, but
as a delta, I really thought there's something novel there. Still, I think motivation and needing to get out and you need to actually go to the gym and have someone responsible for you and so on is part of the challenge. But
do you think Apple is just going to win the fitness battle though? Do you think ultimately
are they?
I don't know. They came out with a Peloton type fitness thing. They've got yoga and
they've got Apple Fitness, which is like the studio of content for fitness in general. 100%. Right?
Yeah, and they've got it also synced to your Apple Watch. Lots of people have Apple Watches. Massive. Yeah. I mean, the barrier to entry, ironically, for Apple Fitness is lower than any of these other companies.
Yeah.
You've got an Apple Watch, $500 or less, $325 or whatever it is for the SE version.
That's
And
interesting.
then you've access to a $19 a month subscription to fitness.
It's just not as interesting because it's not
Isn't
just
it?
Well,
in time you don't like so. 2 years from now,
story.
2 years from now, is there a Peloton tonal Blast story, or is it all just platform? Is it just Apple won that one subscription service?
I think you need the hardware. You need the hardware, whatever it is, whether it's the in-house tread, in-house bike, in-house row, or weights. Hardware is a key part of it, and there's something a little bit ungratifying about just having your own hardware that's totally disconnected from the screen. So a lot of the newer hybrid ones are where it's doing detection of your hardware or hardware that you buy. So it's like a hybrid model.
Yeah, it's a thing. I get it. It's a premium service.
But but I kind of feel like, so it's really, really funny asking because today I was chatting with the former CPO of, I want to say FitLab or FitPlan, and they got bought by FitLab. I think that's the story. And FitLab looks like it's basically a conglomerate of all of these startups and subscriptions, and FitPlan was a startup that was doing celebrity-based influencer fitness subscription story. And they were amazing. Like it was a two-sided marketplace, but the influencer celebs, LA-based, as you can imagine, you should just check out the site, is like glorious looking. and he was running me through like the data, the stats, and what they needed to get up to, and what the retention models look like, and what the aha moments are, and when they convert, when people, to, I'm not going to give the numbers away.
Yeah.
But I was looking through this thing, going, how is this not eaten up by Apple? How aren't all the celeb like influencers sitting on that platform, and that's the dominant platform?
Yeah, it does feel like the next thing.
I think that's clear. But
and an acquisition. You think? I mean, I was, I beautifully timed the Peloton shares. I never get this right, so it's okay to say I got it right one time. So historically, terrible at buying stocks and selling stocks at the right time. However, I bought Peloton the day before the CEO. And I bought a good chunk of Peloton the day before CEO announced he was stepping down. CEO would never have allowed Peloton to be acquired. And they have a new CEO. And the share price went back up like 25%, 2 days in those following days.
Also tanked a little bit. Did you get off at the top?
No, it's not. I'm still up. I'm still just waiting for an acquisition. Like, that's the play. That was genuinely the play. It was always, it's down 80%, hold for an acquisition, and that's what I'm hoping for.
You're waiting for an acquisition?
Yeah.
Who's going to buy?
I don't know. Apple. I mean,
Apple's
it's not a software play. Like, it's not like it would be very easy to bring into their ecosystem.
When was the last time? So Mirror bought
Amazon,
by Lulu.
Amazon could buy Peloton. Google could buy Peloton. Google bought Fitbit. Like, it's really...
No, it's a very different play. Fitbit's this is ops, right? The people that drop off Peloton, like, it's
fitness
real
data?
estate.
Oh, it's very valuable.
It's not fitness data. It's not just the data. It's just actually operating it. Who's going to invest? Like, Fitbit is not the same as... Yeah, I'm trying to think through it. So Mirror is the closest one that I remember, that I know of, where they did. So Lulu bought it because there's a nice kind of correlation. It's lightweight.
Lulu?
It's Lululemon bought Mirror. Mirror is basically pure fitness exercise.
Of course, you know about Lululemon.
Quite literally. Also, I know more about Mirror than Lulu. So, like, Mirror is the kind of tonal, but without the weights bit. It's just the fitness exercises.
I remember.
Through a mirror, and you're watching them,
you
and
have
you
a
can kind of
fitness
see
coach
yourself.
or an avatar that does the exercises, and you do it with them and all that stuff.
It's a really nice UI. Got, like, the actual design is beautifully done, and it's a pseudo translucent kind of story. It's a mirror with a screen behind it, so it actually looks futuristic and beautiful. Mm-hmm. Really clean. You don't need that much space other than to bob around. Their kind of story is content with a bit of UI, and that's where I kind of see that threat. So Lulu got them in, and I don't know what they're going to do. But if you're buying Peloton, you're buying distribution, you're buying real estate of the shops, you're buying like the ops to get it to people's houses and to repair. That's not Apple's play. It's definitely not Google's play. Maybe it's an Amazon story. Maybe it's more like a Nike / someone in fitness who wants to double down on it. So a la Lulu with Mirror, but it's not a tech company play.
I don't know. I think that data is super valuable, though. Yeah, I think it might be worth the hardship of the hardware to get the data.
You're already getting the data. You've got Apple Watches connected everywhere. Everyone's got an Apple Watch is connecting an Apple Watch already to Peloton. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. For what it's worth, now we can't talk about Peloton at all. You have to cut this whole thing out because you've now disclosed your stakeholder. This whole thing is a pump and dump is what's happening right now. This whole show. This whole show is Peloton's amazing. You guys should go buy it. Marcus is going to dump the day after.
Yeah. I've been singing their praises ever since I put it outside my garage for the last year. Peloton's the future. I've always said that.
You're basically a Peloton bro, is what you are. That's what's happening right now.
Next topic. Apple Silicon or the Great Migration.
Can I just say one thing on Peloton, though? Yes. I remember the Peloton store next to the SoulCycle store at Stanford Shopping Centre.
You were a big SoulCycler pre-COVID.
I'd SoulCycle pretty consistently. It's a great community thing. It's like the nightclub for Gen Z, but you getting fit, right? Just as loud, just as painful,
cultish.
just as sweaty.
I think
cultish.
Nightclubs are less cultish than SoulCycle.
Maybe.
You joined a cult.
No, only because I had to blow out a candle was at all a cult. Some point
is there
in
a
time,
candle? Is there a blowing out of a candle?
Do you not know this? The SoulCycle.
No, I never went to SoulCycle, and I'm proud of it.
Have missed out, and I'm going to take you to SoulCycle because
tell me about the candle. Tell me about the candle.
There's at some point in time, depending on which instructor, they bring out a candle to you. So maybe by the third act, they kind of put on this grind music, and you're grinding up this hill, and everything's just quieter. And the instructor, and you grind. You're almost at the top of this thing, and the instructor comes around and starts going one person by one person. Just puts this candle out, and it's like, give it your last breath, and show me you've still got something in you, and you to blow this candle out while you're dripping sweat, and you're struggling the shit to get up this hill, and there's a candle in your face, and you're like, that seems dangerous. I don't want hot wax. Right? It's just anyway. It's a bit ridiculous. It's very spiritual.
You loved it though. Admit it. You loved it.
It's dark. It's fluoro. I went to one in Vegas, and it's cool. It's great. I
want to try it, but I would worry that I might die because I can't not push myself as hard as possible.
Berries, you might die. Soul, you can deal with it. There's a very direct correlation. One last thing on this whole genre. Two things. One is there's a direct correlation between the decibels and the playlist and what generation, what demographic they're aiming for. Where like Orange Theory is at least like 20 dB softer, and it's like the 90s, whereas Barry's and Soul is right up there, and it's the whole thing. And they do live DJs and stuff. But I remember, I don't know what timing it was, but it would have been 3-4 years before any of the Peloton kind of spike pre-pandemic, where I remember that shop and it was next to Soul, and I'm going, who's buying a fitness bike? Who's buying a bike right now? Like, I don't care what screen it has. And the picture at the time used to be, it takes you through the mountains or whatever, right?
Yeah, you could ride any ride. It's actual footage of your... No.
Yeah. You're like, I don't need to ride through the Pyrenees from my home. That's not really a thing. It blew my mind that anyone was pitching this, and it felt like one of the beta shops, right? It was like a experiment for years. I'll be walking past this thing next to Soul Cycle, and
like those little stores that get lost, like you're like those catalogs you get on airplanes, where it's like you can buy a foot cozy warmer that has a comb in it or something. Total
gimmick,
like,
total boffin inventory gimmicky thing. Yet they had some budget, and I'm looking at it going, how did this thing?
And was it Peloton?
It was Peloton. It was Peloton right next to the Soul Cycle in the store, right? And now it's grown. It's around the corner of the whole thing. And Tonal actually has the exact footprint, the exact place where
it's the startup site. It's a Y Combinator thing. It's all locked in.
There's like a fitness. That's it. It's the mob. There's a fitness corner, and I remember just thinking that's not possible. And then COVID happened, and sure enough, a Peloton rolls up.
It was so obvious when I saw. It was so obvious post. I mean, when COVID hit, when the share price rocketed, you were like, shit, obviously. When I first saw a Peloton, there was something different about it, though. There was something from a design aesthetic point of view. There was something desirable about it. It was a flex. If you had that in your living, it was the first time you see an exercise bike that you could actually put in the middle of your living room, and it would be a flex, but just the
playbook it's the Nest playbook. It's taken an unloved thing from a while ago and reinvented it from an aesthetic. Right. And I looked at it and went, totally understand it. Not worth $4,000 or whatever it was. Don't see any point because exercise bikes are from the 70s and they're naff. And then sure enough.
And they're like a cliche of everyone buys an exercise bike and never uses it. It's like a clothes hanger.
Correct.
A clothes horse. That was like the example. It's like, exercise bike, clothes horse. And then it's like everybody's buying them.
But if it wasn't for the
including you.
If it wasn't for the social layer, and if it wasn't for the fitness for the instructors, you wouldn't have bought it and put it in your house.
Yeah, that's exactly. It was the gamification of it. No, of course.
Yeah.
It was. That's what I'm saying. It was. They did a fantastic job of. You fell in love with celebrities. They felt attainable. They shout your name out sometimes. How cool is that?
The call outs. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a winner.
It worked because they got Soul Cycle to work. Like that model worked. They essentially reinvented spin from the 90s to make it cool. Because spin in the 90s was naff, and you're like, how many twists to the right? What am I doing? What's going on?
And I don't believe he's doing the same twists as me, and am I getting the benefit of... He says it's easier, but it's not... Yeah,
this is not a workout. It's not working out. It was not dark. It was well lit. There was no disco. It just wasn't cool. Reinvented it, rebranded it, $32 a pop, and then Peloton went, damn, we just need to make that distributed. That was genius. That was the scale. Yeah,
smart. And then COVID hit. Boom.
Anyway...
And then surprisingly, it was non-linear in growth after that. It turned out that was just COVID sales.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah.
You're saying everything's reverted to the mean. Not even. Yeah. It's worse, isn't it?
Yeah,
They're oversold.
I think, a lot of this is on... I get annoyed with valuations, Like we learned this at business school, right? The torpedo, where if you've got, 30% growth this quarter... they'll put 30% growth in for every quarter into into annuity, and then suddenly you're like, I only got 25% growth, and it's like you lose 60% share value.
Gone.
Like it's just
See you later.
nonsense. It's like,
but this wasn't a torpedo session, right? This was
no, I know this was
multiples.
They were spending
multiples.
a lot of money
Yeah.
to produce a lot of products that a lot of people didn't need.
But not just Peloton. I mean, this whole cycle of whatever it is, the top 80 tech, losing 70, 80, between 40
it's because
and 80%.
the entire share of the market was in tech.
Yeah.
Like people who usually invested in Johnson and Johnson and Chevron were in tech. Like
They needed their money somewhere.
Yeah.
And all the multiples are shot. Anyway, Great Migration.
Yeah, you want to hear about
Apple
that?
Silicon. What's the Apple
Well,
Silicon?
your options are,
No.
yeah, we've done Peloton, we've done Dyson Wearables, we've got Apple Silicon or the Great Migration.
Migration. Apple Silicon sounds naff.
Naff. I know you hate it. I love hardware. You hate hardware.
Yeah.
The Great Migration.
Yeah. Okay. What Great Migration?
The Great
We're
Migration.
talking like geese north to south.
It is part of the Great Resignation, but it's an article in the Wall Street Journal today. And net new tech jobs rose 2x in Miami and Texas more than California this year. So net new jobs in Miami and California went up. Net new jobs in Miami and Texas went up over 10,000 this quarter or this month or some period of time, and they only went up 5,000 in California. Discuss.
Rocket science, isn't it? Rocket science.
What do you think's happening there?
I think it's pretty easy. Have you looked at the tax rates in those states recently?
Yeah. No, I get it. Tell me about it though.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I mean, clearly,
the question is though, do you think it is net new business in tech? Do you think these are people who would have moved to California or would have been in California, but have decided to go to Miami or Texas, or you think that there are people that probably would like? Are these like investment bankers that went into tech instead in Miami, or are they people who would have been in California and Silicon Valley? Like, is this the Great Migration or is this the decentralization of technology?
I don't know what the actual net numbers are, but for sure there is a huge movement last year when Suarez, Miami mayor, responded to Dillion's VC Silicon Valley kind of, we want to come to Miami, and he said, how can I help? And that became the bumper sticker. And within 12 months, was it last year or the year before? Within 12 months, you literally have a migration of Bay Area, VC, tech, startups, everyone going out to Miami and then moving to Tampa and Orlando and the whole thing, crypto center, etc. But it's really hard to avoid the tax rate and the benefits that everyone was chasing there. Miami's cool, but no one from tech is going there to have the lifestyle. They're going there to do the startup thing and to grind it out. So I'm not sure they're going there for the water and the yachts, although that ends up being a nice distraction.
Sure.
I think of a bottom line, there's a dollar incentive to be out there and kind of cheaper, but it's not really that much cheaper. So I think it's direct incentivization. There's definitely a migration from the Bay Area out there. I don't know net numbers, and I think there's they're returning is the general story, especially with all the RTOs in kind of broad Bay Area piece. Same with Austin. Austin has both we moved out there for startups and we created the VC center and we got out because it's cheaper, definitely because it's cheaper, and the tax rates are much better. And they also had unlike Miami, I think there's much more of a tech center story there.
But are the VC dollars there though, or do they still have to come up here to get real funding? Like, is it like?
I don't know I clearly don't know the exact numbers, but I think VC has started distributing pretty well. I think the VC numbers have started distributing around. And any VC,
because that's the indicator for me. Like I'm all in for. Look, this is a startup hub. London's a startup hub.
Yeah.
Where's the VC money though? Oh no, you have to go
you still have to fly the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I think no one's not going to have an office in the Bay Area. I think the question is whether you open up an office. And I'm pretty sure they've all got their satellite offices in Austin and Miami.
But who's down there? What partners are down there and stuff? I feel like still, if you're still serious, you probably have to be here, right?
Yeah. You hope so. I don't know. I think there's a pretty. So the numbers are clearly net negative on California, but then there's some definite revival now with RTOs and other things. So you're seeing the migration back. Anecdotally, you're definitely seeing that but there is a sense of permanence about moving. Even New York, there's a pretty consistent kind of get out of SF for all of the governance reasons, violence reasons, homelessness reasons, all of that stuff. And it's all created a sense of the network that I came here for, and the tech kind of forwardness is gone. What I can't tell is how much that is just part of the classic SF cycle. Like California SF, this whole thing is so decentralized and deregulated that it's all about, it's the 9 lives of SF that just keeps reinventing itself. But it was never really
about SF. SF was always about culture and hippies and as in it kind of SF. Bled into SF. It was Silicon Valley was separate from SF.
Yeah, I'm with you. But like this last round, post the bubble, it was all SF.
This last 10 years has made everyone wanted to move from South Bay to San Francisco. Yeah, I was in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. I was just a doctor's appointment. I was in the city for whatever. I was in the city 2 weeks ago, and I forgot how much it smells. And I'm not just being belligerent. There's a unique SF smell. Maybe you don't know it being down south. Did you know? Do you know what I'm talking about?
In the city, I think most downtowns have a smell about them. There's part sewage, part part like.
It smells like dirty laundry.
Just damp.
No, it smells like humans. It smells like bodies.
Yeah, okay.
Like human body laundry. Like a gym gear.
Which parts? Were you downtown?
Yeah, I was in the financial district, down by the office.
Yeah, the
so like there's a distinct smell that you get there as you're coming out of BART up the escalator into the street. I'm not talking about underground. As you get into the street, there's a smell in SF. And it was a rainy day. It was raining, and usually on rainy days it smells less in San Francisco. But San Francisco stinks. I don't know. Am I going to have to cut this out? But it does.
No,
it's true.
No. I think it's well established, both politically and like lifestyle and literal stink. I think it's pretty consistent. There are human feces maps. You can have a look around. It is well.
It's broken.
It's
SF
so broken.
Is broken.
It's so broken. That is a very consistent theme. And like the governance is broken, the district attorney is broken, the car windows are very broken by all accounts, right? The number of car thefts is like through the roof. So it's not anecdotal, like the stats are pretty clearly broken. Homelessness is a disaster, always has been, or has been for quite some time. Again, what I don't know, like, London Breed, the mayor came out 3-4 weeks ago going, no, that's it. We're finally going to do something about it. I can't quite remember what the trigger was, but it wasn't Asian violence. It was a homelessness story, something ridiculous. It was like beyond the pale. Or was it the Walgreen thefts? It's just this constant, it just feels like a lawless setup. Have you ever read Dark City or The Streets of a Dark City? That SF kind of history of the 60s, 70s. It's an incredible, takes you through that whole passage.
No, we read one together as part of book club. You and me and Dave and all that.
I think that was the one.
What was it called?
That was the one.
It wasn't Dark City though. It was like. What
was it called?
It was about Haight-Ashbury and like Janis Joplin and all those.
All of that, all the darkness and all the serial killers and it just feels like it's in another one of those cycles where like crime's rampant, homelessness is rampant, no one's doing anything about it. School districts are rampant, the housing policies are a disgrace. Everything's at loggerheads and everyone's bailing. It feels like one of those cycles. But
I can't find it just here, but I read that book with you. I was in the book club at that stage.
Not Tale of Two Cities. I love that book because it was so visceral as like it felt like the city had a character and it felt like it had a very dark underbelly as its core. And every time I roll into the city from the north or from the south, I have that because it's a peninsula. You're a thumb. You're kind of trapped on this 7x7 grid, and you're so inward looking. You can do anything here that you can't run away. No one can get back in, and it feels like you're at the edge of the earth. I don't know. There's something psychological for me about
it. It always reminds me of my sister coming over. She had this romantic idea about the US. We'd been to New York on a shopping trip like 20 years ago as a family. It was a big thing, a big event that we went like for New Year's Eve, a long time ago, and we did the whole Saks Fifth Avenue and walked around, looked at all the shops. So when I moved to San Francisco, Dawn was really keen to visit, and she came. And there's, in Union Square, there's like the Apple stores and Nike and Saks, but you want to go to Saks. And Saks here, they've got a Saks Fifth Avenue, but in Union Square. it's a double door system. So you go in one set of double doors, and there's another. There's like that. You go in double doors, then another double doors, and then you're in. And she she opened a double door straight into someone who was squatting down and taking a dump in the lobby. She literally opened the door and looked straight into the rear end of this person. And she literally just closed the door and came straight home to me, and she was just like, I'm never going into town again. It's like, it's terrible. It's the worst. I feel like that's San Francisco, right?
Downtown. For me, San Francisco is not downtown. It's just not. I would never go. There's no point because I
and
don't
the
work
fact
there.
That Union Square is the nearest.
The greatest irony is
nearest
next to Tenderloin.
The Tenderloin. Yeah,
It's
like if you turn left coming out, you could get robbed. If you turn right, you go to the Nike store. You know,
literally send the tourist a block away from the. It's the greatest irony. It's the most ridiculous, unfortunate setup. For me, that entire sector, civic, the whole thing is A, a no-go. B, it's not SF for me. Like for me, SF is much more Pack Heights, Presidio, go out to the park, even North Beach. Like for me, that's.
But surely the financial hub, surely where all the technology is where that's where everyone who works in all these tech companies is. Google, Facebook.
I mean, yeah, ish. Even then,
I mean, it is. They're in our building, same building as me. They see what I see.
Yeah.
So there was a time where I was getting the train in for about a year. I was getting the train I was getting the 5:12 a.m. train into the city, and that the trouble with that train was the upside was I got a seat in. Nobody was getting that train. The downside was when I got in there, it was before the cleaning crews had cleaned up all the syringes, and you just see how many syringes are in the subway. Jesus. And I would literally not put my hand on the escalator because I had a few, once or twice, a few close ones where I was about to touch the escalator and there were syringes just lying on there where they'd toss them over the side. Like it is jarring, the problem here. And they're all the same syringes. They're the free ones that they give out because there's a massive problem here and they don't want people sharing needles, and I totally get it. And there's a massive cleaning crew comes in sometime between 5:40 when I would land in San Francisco and the usual time for most people, which is like 6:30 or whatever. There's a crew comes in and picks all that up. Great effort. However, when you get the 5:12 a.m. train, you land in the city, you see all of that.
You don't get the benefit of the cleaning crew. It's a disaster.
Terrible.
It's a outright disaster. It's really as a expat and relatively new and so on, I don't feel in a position to claim, I can't get on the high horse or feel outraged. It's not my thing that's gone.
No,
so
I'm not outraged. It's just broken.
It's clearly broken.
I think it's okay to say it's broken.
It's clearly broken. I just don't feel like, I don't know whether it was much better or whether it can be better. I don't know if this is steady state. I don't know whether you should advocate.
No, but we're not even going there. I'm saying,
Yeah.
and I don't want it to be like, take it away. So I feel like one of the tech perspectives is not on my doorstep. I'm doing great things. That's not the perspective here. The perspective is like, California is one of the best funded governments. Like San Francisco surely has got to be well funded.
Yeah.
How can we not fix this? What's the plan? How do you fix this? I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just a petri dish here and nobody knows what to do, but
there is no shortage of funds and advocates and champions in tech, VC founders who are all like on it. They're literally doing the petitions to the referendums to get the DA out, the referendums to sort out the school districts to get that public housing, the tax pieces to get money back in to solve the whole. It's very, very real for those who do love it and have been around for a long time and want to stay and want to make it better. I think part of the problem here is that there's so much transience. People peace. Too much.
Yeah.
I only came here for this thing. This is not working out. I'm out to Austin. There's no
would
permanence.
You move?
No one who wants to fix it.
Speaking of piecing out, would you do it? Like you're like me, we're tied here because of family. Kelly's family's here. I would do Austin in a heartbeat. Would you?
Yeah, I love Austin. I think it's too hot. But that seems really trivial and lame. I'd love Austin. Austin's great. It's got great
lower
vibes,
tax rate,
great food, lower tax rates, cheaper in general, do all the same stuff. I'm not sure where in the US you'd go after being in this bubble. And it's hard. Like I really like the idea of Miami. I've always liked Miami here. Independently. Yeah. I
mean, there's, as much as you dog in it, the smell of the city and things like that, there is a unique kind of, the people here, they're the best people I've ever worked with. The people I work with here are definitely like you're there's something infectious and kind of magic about being here. It's just, unfortunately, there's some other stuff too.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that draws and keeps going is there is a draw, and it's self-fulfilling because all the people, the same sorts of people come and make it happen for one another. Right. And it's unique in the caliber to the point of Asperg, kind of up and down the peninsula. Yeah. But other than the people and kind of the vibe and the sense of nothing is what it has to be, and you can reinvent everything, and there is no rule. Like that is just so to the point of absurdity, right? Like there are some physical limits. There are things you can't do. There are kind of the rest of the world has kind of done this and found out you don't have to reinvent it and get it wrong. But even just like physically, you're up to nature, up in Marin. You can hike, any time within 10 minutes. You go. The conservative movement, the preservation movement in the 70s, like all of that, we're still benefiting from it. And it's real. Like there's some really beautiful landscape, and it's all together. And in a way that's enmeshed, unlike anything else. You are, like where I am, I'm a couple of miles from Facebook hub, from HQ of Google, from everything else, South Bay around the corner, Tesla like literally up the road, HP down that way. You go 15 minutes up the road and you are like in the forest. You are in redwoods. Right. You're completely removed from society. You roll down the hill back 20 minutes and you're at the core of, the current economy, right? Right. Which is such a cyberpunk kind of existence that it's rural, back to nature at the same time as being really connected to future. Yeah. That always gets me. There's always a place I love to go. I love to go to the top of the hill, up at Windy Hill, and you show everyone, you look across the actual valley, you see it. See the city, Berkeley, all the way down. You can see the spaceship around the corner down in kind of Cupertino, and you can see around to Netflix and Los Altos. You can point at like Fremont and see the Tesla building, Tesla plant. You can see the Tesla HQ at the foothills.
It's almost like that intro to Silicon Valley, the TV show, where it's like it pans across and you can just see that everything
You're
is
standing on the
here.
hill, and in one shot, and then behind you, you've got the Pacific Ocean, and you can point. There's the ocean right there. There's Santa Cruz Mountains, and here's forest, and you're standing like in dead silence, and there's a hawk, and there's some rabbits, and you just look, and you're pointing at the whole thing, and it's magic. It's magic. Oh, you want to come up to Windy Hill anytime, man? Anytime. Nice. Would you go, mate? Would you? Your family's keeping you. Would you? Where else would you go?
I would live in New York if we weren't. If we like, my personality is more New York anyway. Like I'm friendly, but I prefer directness, and I think I would do better in New York. And it's so close to home. It's 5 hours. I would nip home. Yeah. I would literally nip home. I would do like a 3-dayer. But the 12 hours is just too much. So I would do New York, no problem. I'd be happy to do a tech thing in New York. But it's
where
not
in New York?
Runner.
Would you do it with the family?
Yeah, bring everyone. I mean,
no,
I'm not
obviously
going to
bring everyone. You're not going to understand. But like,
you asked me, am I going to leave my wife and kids to move? There's no desire to move to New York for no reason. Yeah,
heard it here, everyone. Marcus is leaving his family. No, my question is, do you think you could do New York with a family, and at what age?
Yeah, no, it's just not a runner. It's never a run. I mean, I would do it now. I would move him now. Otherwise, we wouldn't have moved to California in the first place. Post MBA, I probably would have done New York if it was an option. I like New York.
The non-runner is specifically that the rest of your
family's here.
Your wife's family.
Kelly's wives, Kelly's sisters and brothers is here, and we're being close to family. The whole point of moving to the US was for that.
Yeah. There's no point moving out again. Yeah, I think that's the other problem for me is that US is a bit bi-coastal. So you kind of need to be on the coast. If you're anywhere else, it's hard. You feel even further away from the rest of the world. Yeah. Right? Like California.
Yeah, no, I'm totally get it. I Austin has got me thinking, but it's either SF, Austin, or New York. But the seat for me, it would be New York, SF, Austin.
I'd love to do New York as well. I'm just not sure how family it is, and I don't know if I'm like.
Who cares? There's suburbs there too.
You can deal with it. Yeah, I know. But I feel like I've become.
It's so much cleaner and just like I know it sounds crazy, but I was there visiting New York, staying with friends for a while, and I was just like, they were like, yeah. I was like, it's so clean here. They're like, seriously? I was like, yeah, it's so clean.
Where in like Manhattan?
Yeah.
It's still pretty. Yeah, compared to SF downtown, it's not clean compared to Palo Alto downtown. I'm just gonna.
My issue is you live in a VC bubble.
Yeah. Do you ever remember the Fred Leary? What's his name? No, it's going to come to me. Baz Luhrmann. Do you remember the Baz Luhrmann song?
The Wear Sunscreen?
Yeah. And the line, which is live on the East Coast once, but leave before you come too
you
hard.
get too soft. No,
live on the West Coast once and leave before you get too soft. I'm constantly thinking of, have I become too soft? Because I genuinely started going, I can't go. It's too hard. It's too complicated, isn't it? You've got to navigate the traffic and walk and get on the subway, and it feels hectic.
But San Francisco's like that. You're in Palo Alto. That's what I was talking about earlier. That's what I'm saying.
I'm in the burbs.
You're in Palo Alto, which is
rural.
It's like that in San Francisco. Like as in the things I'm talking about with Bart and the hustle of getting the 45-minute commute in it. Like that's like that in San Francisco too.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say is I remember coming back from Berkeley. Was it Berkeley? Where were we? Yeah, Berkeley. When we came back, we did the MBA. We did the exchange program here at Haas. We lived in Berkeley for 4 months. I remember coming back to London and having to adjust to the bustle, readjust to things move faster in London than they do in San Francisco, and I suspect it's like that in New York too.
For sure.
Things happen at 2x.
Everything's fast. I definitely am getting softer. I'm not even I'm Menlo Park where we don't have street lighting, right? I'm in rural peninsula.
Don't give me that.
Surreal. I'm telling you, I'm very soft.
Is just the posh part of Palo Alto.
It's very soft, man. We don't have street lights. It's very redwoods outside. It's very
Come on, that's not true. Oh,
it's very true. There's no street lights in Menlo. There's no street lights. It's very dangerous.
Rami,
it's like unincorporated Menlo Park at that.
And everyone has a Tesla. I mean, come on.
That's the unfortunate part. That's the downside.